we are. Game number 1. CLG.EU has the option. First ban, first pick, and the Lulu banned straight out.
Yeah, CLG.EU versus AbsoluteLegends IPL5 qualifiers. Red Baron and Het Person here. But, definitely some common bans. Like you said, Lulu, Anivia. Don't ever allow Froggen to play Anivia.
Never.
That's just too disruptive.
Anivia, Soraka, Shen. So all the supports being banned out here by CLG, because Lulu and Soraka synergize very well with tanky bodies up front like a Mundo. We saw it from Dignitas during IPL4. And the Ahri being banned out as well, pretty strong in the mid. True damage, mobility, all of that good stuff. I gotta wonder what's gonna be the last ban for AL. Still room for the Jax ban just to be safe, but could also be another AP mid ban, because the TF has been coming back a little bit as well. Trying to think, Morgana's also would be a good one. There's options. Aurelia. Do not want to have to deal with the Aurelia top lane.
Yeah, Wicked's just such a strong Aurelia. It makes sense. We'll have to see. There are a number of champions open, Urgot being one of them. So the Urgot pick works very well in a number of comps. We've seen him a lot recently. He's usually like a first pick or first ban kind of champion.
Yep.
He's so strong, controlling the bot lane. He can lane against anyone. He can pair with almost any support. And then when you consider, mid-game team fights, he's just so absolutely tanky. He shuts down a lot of physical damage teams. And a lot of times we're starting to see more physical damage in tanky teams. He works very well, synergizes with that. If you have an enemy carry, you pull him out, get some quick kills. A lot of times the big thing with Urgot is you have that kill potential with the suppression, but because of the suppression, you're also forcing the enemy carry into getting a Quicksilver Sash. And so forcing them into a Quicksilver Sash, it does work well against Urgot. However, it's reducing their damage potential because they have to spend more onto defensive items, and that's just kind of weakening them in fights. So we'll have to see. But we do have Morgana and Nocturne, two definitely strong champions. Just safe all-around picks. Nocturne, one of the strongest junglers. And then you have to consider the Nocturne pick. While it's not going to be as effective against Urgot, you can have early aggression with it, and then it also prevents CLG from taking Nocturne. So the Nocturne pick, if you have an aggressive team like AbsoluteLegends, they want to be ganking the top lane, they want to be tower diving, or in team fights they want to be protecting their carry. Well, Nocturne, if Snoopé had Nocturne, he can kind of just sit around in his jungle, and then he goes, oh, they're tower diving Wicked, well, let me just ult in there. It gives him a nice little gap closer. And then, for team fights, if they had the Urgot and the Nocturne, but wow,
nope.
I don't think we're going to see a Darius, but that would be an interesting turn of events, to say the least.
So Morgana is going to be mid. Looking at passively farm a little bit, I would not. It wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for CLG to also pick up Karthus later on, possibly in the next set of picks. Alistar would be an amazing pick here. Also ambiguous. Leona looking for the aggressive lane bot. Snoopé last second grabbing the Mundo for the jungle. So
yeah, Mundo versus Nocturne is such a common matchup.
So Leona, Urgot, bot lane looking to be quite aggressive. That is definitely going to be a kill lane for sure. And Urgot, he can be pretty safe on the back line as well. Just stuns from Leona. Go in there, and Urgot can just get all of his combos, throw down the acid, and just plug away from a distance.
Yeah, you usually see Urgot paired with a Janna or a Soraka just because the harass is so nice, but Urgot works just as well with any support, really, and having that kill lane potential, the stun from Leona is easily going to set up that Acid Hunter for Urgot. Then we have to consider the swap into the quick stun, into the ultimate. There's just so much killing potential, and so Graves, definitely a strong pick. Corki is as well. Both of those would definitely make sense because they have more survivability. Graves has a little bit more armor, so the armor with the armor buff from Taric and the heals provides him with a little bit more safety. Corki can sit in the back range and farm, though, very easily with just the range poke with the missiles and with the phosphorus bomb. So both smart picks. Corki, you can sit a little bit further back than Graves does. So they have the same attack range, but the fact that Corki has a little bit longer range nukes allows him to farm more easily and safely against that kill lane.
But also Corki and Taric together does quite a fair amount of armor shred as well. Kog'Maw possibly being picked, more likely going to be the AP Cog in the mid, and it's been seen before how well Kog'Maw can just poke at teams and keep them at a distance. Yep. As the game drags on into the mid, into the late game, and just AP Cog, that just hurts. Get the Rylai's on them, slow, no one's, if you get hit by one of those shots, it's going to hurt. You may not even be getting away.
And we'll have to see, I was actually thinking we might see a Kennen pick from Wicked. So Kennen versus Jax. Kennen, would be a little bit safer, and if we know that Absolute Legends is going to be pressuring that top lane, then Kennen can do well against any top lane in the game, and is one of the safer picks. You throw off your ultimate when they're trying to dive you. Maybe you can pick up some kills. Jax, definitely is very strong against tower dives as well. Gives them a little bit more late game, and so we have a tanky team up front to go with Jax, so we can swap them in, pick up some quick kills. It's kind of an interesting comp. We have Froggen. We saw the fantastic AP Cog play the other day. He's going to have that long range bombardment, be able to poke, wear them down. It's just kind of a safe pick. He can do very well in that lane. And so here's the thing. AP Cog, you look at the poke damage, that's great, but a lot of poke champions, they're not as strong in team fights. Well, AP Cog still has a high damage output and sustained damage, and so in team fights, he's actually really strong as long as you can keep him alive. Nocturne is going to be a concern for Cog. Morgana, if she can get in range, is going to be a concern. However, he has the cleanse, and he knows, I have 4 frontline champions that they need to worry about. If they're not focusing down Jax, Jax is absolutely going to wreck them, and so as a result, AP Cog is going to have the free time and the safety in order to just, deal the damage that he wants to.
This is going to be a very close quarters match here, because look on both teams, Leona, Jax, Mundo, and Urgot with a swap. That's a lot of close range combat there, and Absolute Legends, Renekton, Taric, Nocturne, Morgana coming in with the ult. Everyone's going to be bunching up quite well. The Jax stun's going to make quite a bit of money there. The stun from Leona and the bombardment from Kog'Maw is going to be doing a lot of damage. However, on the other side, Taric in the middle of the fights, shredding the armor. Nocturne picking off targets. Morgana ult. Renekton can, with anything, Renekton ult can do amazing damage. So it's just going to be a straight-out brawl here from CLG and AL once we hit the team fight phase. And now it's a question of, can any lane get the edge? Renekton versus Jax.
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup. So first off, the Jax pick. Jax is actually really safe against tower dives, and so you have the dodge. That's going to mitigate a nice chunk of damage. You have the stun. You have a lot of burst damage. So really quickly, you can kite around people in the tower. Maybe jump back to your creeps. That's going to give you some safety. Then whoever's tanking the turret, you just all of a sudden jump on them. You throw off a stun. You get a quick kill, and now a 3v1 is a 2v1, and you're already ahead. So even if you die, you've gotten a kill. So it's really easy to pick up those kills. You see, he's grabbing exhaust instead of ignite, and so a lot of times ignite is going to be very common on that Jax top. You have the burst, so you want to just have that finishing off potential. Also against Renekton, it will work well since you need a little bit more damage to take him down, but and it will prevent some from his heal. However, the exhaust is going to provide him a little bit more safety, so he knows they're going to be extremely aggressive in tower diving me maybe. That's not necessarily a guarantee, but that is something that is pretty common with AL. So if they're trying to be aggressive, we have the stun, we have the dodge, and now we have an exhaust as well. So really quickly, Jax can turn the tables on him. Now Jax versus Renekton 1v1 is actually a pretty even matchup. Renekton has the advantage though in the early levels. Up to about 6, Renekton can be actually extremely aggressive against Jax and zone Jax. So, when Jax tries to come in, tries to get some farm, Renekton just throws off a stun, throws off some damage, we'll be fine, has the regen advantage. As the lane progresses, Renekton definitely has a lot of kill potential and a lot of survivability, but then Jax, you also have to consider the burst that he has. And so it's a pretty even matchup as it progresses. A lot of it's going to come down to the solid play of the players. Jax, he always has the potential to just throw off the stun. You leap strike in, you stun, you get off your damage, you walk back, and that's a nice little chunk. Unfortunately, then Renekton is going to dash after you as you're trying to get out. So a lot of times Jax gets free damage. That's not going to happen against Renekton because Renekton's going to be able to chase him down. Mundo, again, a very solid pick against Nocturne. And one of the nice things about Mundo, with the counter jungling potential and whatnot, if they see Malinu focusing down on any lane in particular, such as top lane, then very quickly Mundo is going to have the jungling speed to counter jungle, just run in, steal a red, steal a blue. We'll have to see how that kind of works out.
Also keep in mind, though, that CLG is on blue side, so it's going to be slightly easier for Mundo to go and get the advantage on top lane, just come in from behind, from the Tribush,
right,
and just go right behind Renekton if he chooses to get aggressive. And Jax will be a little bit weaker until he hits 6. a little bit extra burst available to him. So it could be advantageous for Mundo to get those aggressive ganks on top lane. But in the meantime, Nocturne could also get some aggression down on bot lane. Leona would be a good target for Nocturne as well, since she's going to be looking to get those stuns. She's going to be out in front of Urgot, since he's just going to be in the back, just plugging away, getting all of his last hits and any harass. Leona could be getting a little bit too aggressive in bot lane, just going straight out for the stuns, and that could be Nocturne's Q.
Yeah, that's definitely true. We'll have to see, how that works. That is one of the issues with Leona, is when you're trying to be aggressive. Leona doesn't really have that survivability to get back, so she's really good on the offensive side, not so much on the defensive side. That being said, I think as long as they keep an eye on Nocturne, they should be pretty safe. We will have some nice range farming from Urgot. There is a lot of kill potential, though, with the Corki and Taric combo. And so having that armor shredding, will be huge, particularly if we see the gank coming down, like you said. And we'll have to see. Maybe they'll focus down the bottom lane. You also have to consider the mid lane is going to be pretty safe. And so that's one of the nice things about that Kog'Maw pick. Versus Morgana, Kog'Maw has enough range where he can just farm safely. There's not an issue. Oh, wow, we have the new Bloodthorn Morgana skin, or however it works, if you guys haven't seen it yet. It hasn't released yet, yeah.
Oh, nice. I like it.
But regardless, Morgana, it tends to turn into a free farm lane, but a lot of short-range champions, Morgana can kind of run up on you, throw off the ultimate, get enough burst damage to take you down, and so that's kind of an issue. However, Kog'Maw, he has enough range, he can farm from a distance. He will have to watch out for the initiation from Nocturne, but generally speaking, he's going to be safe. And so now, the Kog'Maw pick, you're going to be safe, but he also has strong pushing potential. So Morgana, one of the keys to ganking success with Morgana is you push him underneath the tower, and you constantly push, and that opens up opportunities for you to roam. We do see AbsoluteLegends being extremely aggressive coming in here, though, so we'll have to see how this is going to kind of work out for them.
CLG was working out the point defense just for a second, but now that AbsoluteLegends is just starting to filter on in slowly to the Wraiths area, CLG's decides, okay, it's time to group up. We need everyone here to defend this. AbsoluteLegends 4 members inside, but Renekton is out guarding the ramp. Snoopy's looking to start on Wraiths, but Extinct does have something to say about it. Slowly filtering on in. The bind goes down on Snoopy. The Q goes off too, but the flash from Taric will be forced following the Kog'Maw slow. AbsoluteLegends to say, you know what, everyone's there. Let's not press this. Mundo, you can have your Wraiths. We're going to back out.
And one thing that does, even though we didn't see an aggressive engage, there was the potential for a kill if there was a misstep from CLG. But the bigger thing is they kept Mundo on the bottom side. And so they have vision of Mundo. They know, okay, he's starting at race, then he's coming down to red.
Right.
As opposed to a blue Mundo. So blue Mundo will be a little bit faster early on. And then you actually have the ganking potential coming up into the red, maybe be able to counter jungle a little bit there. Both teams getting the ward up here, so they will have vision over Nocturne, and then also vision of whether or not Mundo is trying to invade. So, smart, safe play. And so both junglers going to be comfortable with sitting back for a little bit, and it'll probably be some late ganks, though we might see some early aggression top lane.
The small golems were also taken by Yellow Pete and Crepo as well, so a little bit extra XP going down to the bot lane. Mundo, Snoopy grabbing the blue, and then got some options. Could go top, could go mid, or just continue to farm. In the meantime, Malnu is grabbing the red. There is mutual wards over by the Wraiths on AbsoluteLegends, so there's a little bit of a clue. CLG has an idea, and ping's going down over round 2 to Tribrush here. Mundo is looking to come around to grab the gank on Youngbuck, and Nocturne is not too far away. Might get spotted here. The spell shield goes off just right before going into the brush, but it goes down. Easy cleaver, a little bit extra damage, just a little bit of harass, nothing huge. But Mundo has been spotted out, so gank top has been averted for now.
Yeah, and the big thing is Mundo's preventing the gank from Malanus. So both of them are just kind of sitting there. It's a standoff, and that's perfectly fine with CLG because they don't want to allow Nocturne to be aggressive. Mundo, he is going to be really strong in the jungle, so doesn't need to worry about that early pressure. And he can just sit back. But you see the mobility of Renekton. He can get in there, get off some damage, dash out, prevent the stun from Jax. So a lot of it has to do with timing of the stun, and Jax's stun in particular. But also, Nocturne's still sitting up there.
Also note, though, that when Nocturne was going into that bush, popped the shield preemptively before walking on in, just in case something was there, just in case the Mundo was there, and he was. But it's just a nice little precaution. If you're playing Nocturne, just keep that as a note, a nice little tip. But Cleaver is now going down. Did get a little bit of vision, have an idea that Nocturne's around, but Snoop waiting for the Cleaver, just sticking at the end of the bush.
Mundo, just doing a nice job keeping an eye on Malinu, and that's what they want with Mundo. They want, that speed jungler gives them the map control, so they just keep an eye, counter gank if that's a necessity, and just keep Jax safe in that top lane, because all of it depends on how successful that top lane is a lot of this game, and so we'll have to see. The one nice thing, again, is that Kog'Maw can just stall the game very effectively, and so that's one of the nice things about AP Kog. The pushing potential, you can just constantly stall the game, allow yourselves to get into that late game where Jax is going to be a monster.
Bot lane, AbsoluteLegends doing a pretty good job of pushing the tower, but CLG has seemed to freeze the lane right in front of their tower. So if Mundo does decide to come down for a gank, it will be advantage CLG in this situation. Both supports sitting in the bush. They both know they're there. They both know they're looking for a stun. And there it is, stun going down onto Corki, forcing the Valkyrie to go away. But there is Taric looking to shatter just a little bit of that armor. Mundo's a little bit too far away to make anything of this, though, but Corki is pretty weak, has to pop a potion.
And wow, you just see the absolute, massive burst damage that we have from CLG. Crepo able to get in there with the stun, and it's just the easy follow-up for Urgot. We do see in the meantime, we have Malinu coming down here, but we had some pings going off from CLG, so I didn't think that they saw them, but maybe they kind of are aware of what's going on, or maybe they did even get a peek from that mid lane.
CLG's got an idea, like, okay, we've been got some aggression down bot lane, pushing them back a little bit. It would be right for Nocturne to try and come down and counteract the aggression we're giving off. And there he is, stun going down onto Leona. Big target right there. Exhaust going down onto Taric. Can Crepo get away from this? Sunner here going down, but Slepper.
Oh, that was so close.
Could not get it, but can Yellow Pete actually capitalize on it? Nocturne and Corki barely going to get away, but first blood, top lane, Snoop is actually there. There's Renekton getting harassed by Jax, stun going down, but Young Buck does go back into the fight, but here's Snoop exhaust going down from Wicked, and there is the Mundo with the AoE. Ignite going down on Jax, Ignite going down on Mundo just to try to keep him away, but it will not be enough, and Wicked getting the first blood top lane.
Yeah, and so we saw the aggression bottom lane. Morgana trying to come down if they continued pursuing, but the first blood going onto Jax there, so that's absolutely huge. And so now you have to consider Jax doesn't have regen early, but being able to pick up the pickaxe, he is going to be very close to a cutlass. And so with that cutlass, he's going to have some regen. He's going to have another disable, so 3 disables for Jax when they're going to be coming in if we see any increased aggression in that top lane. So that's going to give him some more safety, and it's also going to allow him to be a little bit more aggressive, maybe pick up kills a little bit more easily. And this is one of the issues with Jax, is just how quickly he can snowball. And so Renekton will be a very safe lane against Jax still. Does have the disable, has a lot of mobility, has the regen from his Q. But just the fact that Jax has the burst damage and has the stun as well could allow Wicked some increased aggression, or at the very least a free farm to get into that late game.
Young Buck will be 6 soon, though, so that ultimate on Renekton, a little bit extra sustain, a little bit extra damage in those team fights if necessary. But if Renekton decides to keep pushing the lane, Snoop will be there from behind, from the tri-brush, to go in for another one of those ganks, and it worked out pretty well. Malinu did the right thing, though, trying to get some aggression down bot, but CLG had an idea. Pretty sure, good sixth sense on them, knowing, okay, we won that team fight, let's push, Nocturne may be here. And they were right, and they managed to start getting out of there just in time.
And we're still seeing just the absolute strength of Renekton. Starting to see him come into competitive play a lot more, but being able to just throw off the stun against the melee, throw off some quick damage with the Q, back off, it's basically free harassed a lot of times, and so he can still, be very effective against Jax in this situation. We do have Crepo coming in, though, gets the stun off. Unfortunately, we didn't get the Acid Hunter under Corki, but we are chasing down Zinnek here. Going to get some nice damage, force them back. Slepper going to be low as well, so they will be safe. And just that burst, you put a little bit of fear into your opponent, and then very quickly you can put them on the defensive. And so that's where kill lanes come into their advantage. If you get kills, then clearly you're going to be at an advantage. But even if you don't get kills, you have them, you put them back on their heels, you make them think, oh wow, if I just any sort of misstep, I'm going to die. So you can't take as many risks as Corki and Taric maybe would like to.
And sometimes you'll see a Corki, if they get jumped on, stick around for just a fraction of a second to see how much burst can I deal before I have to escape. But no, you see Slepper using Valkyrie immediately to get out of any situation Leona may put him in. Snoopy walking into the bush, right into the fear from Nocturne. But Wicked is here, still top lane, and the ult being popped by Renekton. Will Snoopy go down? The Ignite has been thrown, but the ult is still going, so he will get away for sure. But Extinct is around with a blue buff, but CLG has started to fall back, take the long walk. They don't want to just back at the tower. There is still a threat. Mid is missing, so Froggen in the meantime get a little bit of free farm. Might want to push the tower.
Yeah, so he can, try and push, try and deny a little bit of experience. Morgana's going to be back in time, but even so, it's, we'll have to deal with the push.
Yep.
And so that's one of the nice things. But you see really just safe play all around from CLG right now. Snoopy doing a fantastic job focusing on that top lane, coming up there to kind of not allow Nocturne to get off that aggression. So a lot of times with Jax, in order for Jax to lane, you need to, leap strike. You need to jump into your opponent, you get some burst damage, force them to play a little bit defensively. Well, when you have that leap strike, you have an opportunity for a follow-up. So we have the stun from Renekton, then we have the engage from Nocturne. So Nocturne, a really strong pick against someone like Jax in that top lane. And so Snoopy, he knows that he's coming up there, and then because he ran into him, he was very close to going down. Just instead of dueling, just running out there immediately, gets off the ultimate, is able to get out of there just in time. We had the stun from Wicked to get him back. We do see some nice damage from Froggen, though, even this early on to be doing that poke, and he is going. He hasn't gone for that gold pretend build. So a lot of times we'll see, that very safe farming build from Kog'Maw. We have seen it recently, where you get like 3 gold pretend items on Kog'Maw. But the issue with that is it reduces your early game effectiveness. We're not seeing that here because he knows AbsoluteLegends is an extremely aggressive team. We need to be, at our max killing potential and our best team fighting potential early in the game. So going with the Sork shoes and the tier early.
Also got to give some credit to Yellow Pete as well. Nocturne spotted top. That's the signal. Let's shove bot. And Urgot has gone back, starting on the Glacial Shroud Train Vest and the Sapphire Crystal being built. Just not enough gold. So the cooldown reduction won't be coming until a little bit later. But still 2 Doran's Blades, a little bit extra damage there as well. But that's still a lot of burst bot lane with Leona getting in with the Q. And now the waves are just mutually being pushed, and Yellow is doing a pretty good job controlling the lane, making sure those creeps actually don't hit tower. Granted, it's a lot of free damage to be taking, but for those extra creep kills, for the gold, for the XP, it's absolutely worth it to do so. Also, Ward over by AbsoluteLegends Wraiths. Nocturne spotted out, so it could be, once again, another sign for bot lane to get aggressive.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we've seen from CLG all game is just really nice lane control. Being able to keep the lane on their side, they will just freeze it there, and that prevents Nocturne from being as aggressive as he would like to be. So we have a lot of kill potential with Corki and with Taric, but because we're holding the lane on our side, Nocturne can't get in those ganks, and that is just how much damage Wicked has in that top lane as Jax. And we actually see, wow, Froggen with really nice burst already, actually chasing down Extinct a little bit, taking him to half health. So the nice thing about the Cog play is, the early Glacial Shroud always works very well on Urgot. So, he will have that cooldown reduction. He's going to be really tanky early. We've started to see people building an early Manamune onto Urgot. Brutalizer into Frozen Heart is, definitely a little bit more common of a build. And because we have, such a strong Jax, we have a team that, we want to be tanking and dealing with the damage that AbsoluteLegend has in that front line. We have the armor pen from Taric, and we have the armor pen from Corki, and we have the physical damage from both Nocturne and Renekton. So having that early armor is going to be huge in these mid-game team fights. He's going to be a little bit more tanky, able to be as aggressive as he likes to be without quickly being burst down.
Also see that the creep score in bot lane is starting to swing in favor for CLG, about 15 creeps up. And that's credit, AL is just pushing a little bit too far and allowing CLG to control bot lane a little bit more by having it on their side. Also making them vulnerable to ganks from Mundo if so desired. And you'll notice earlier Snoopy was just waiting a little bit past bot tower, seeing, there was no vision on Extinct at the time. There's an idea. There's a ward placed earlier in the river. It's like, oh, Morgana might be coming down. Mundo just stick around for a little bit just in case. And and there is always that threat, and AbsoluteLegends needs to consider that every time they get aggressive here in bot. And even then, those exchanges can be pretty devastating, and Corki has to Valkyrie out immediately every single time, and Tarek now being caught out a little bit far. There comes the ult from Leona. Will the Chunk be able to do it? We have to get the flashes away from Leona just to safety, but Yellow Pete will not be able to connect. But there's a swap that's trying to get a little bit extra distance, but just gonna instead focus on the Corki, trying to get a little bit more distance, and there comes the flash from Snoopy. Will be enough to get the kill, and that could be a dragon.
Yeah, and it's interesting. A lot of times you'll see Mundo go with the exhaust. So the exhaust gives you a little bit more aggression with ganks. The flash gives a little bit more survivability. So when you know that you've got this aggression from AL, flash definitely works. And in that situation, it worked out very well as well to have that aggression, be able to flash in for the quick kill. We do see Wicked chasing down Extinct a little bit here, but Extinct is going to be pretty safe, so it's not really that much of a concern. But the 2-0 with the Dragon for CLG, and they have a really strong late game. They are, kind of getting off to that advantage. We have a really strong team from Absolute Legends as well, though. And one of the concerns for Jax, aside from taking damage to his tower, is the fact that Jax, one of the counters to Jax is to, kite him very effectively, get that CC. And a lot of times people think, oh, you say CC counters him, well, that doesn't mean anything. CC counters everything. Well, what you can do against Jax is early on, Jax is actually pretty weak still. So in the fights, if you CC him and you kite him a little bit, you don't allow him to get off any damage, and you can burst him down. And because their team is based around a lot around the Jax and the Kog'Maw, if they can, burst down Jax, that could be a quick advantage for them. We do see some nice ward control from Absolute Legends, so they will be pretty safe. And then you have to consider, so they have the CC. We also have the armor shredding from Corki. That's just a lot of damage. That's going to drop Jax extremely quickly with that upfront damage. Just be able to burst him down.
Yeah, just mitigate the ultimate from Jax just a little bit more, realizing you think you might be protected, but there's actually quite a bit of damage that could be going down on Jax if he gets focused in these team fights. But right now, I still think priority number one, once we start hitting the full 5-on-5s, might actually be Froggen. There is still the cleanse on him, and will be in the back line. It's going to be a little bit rough for Absolute Legends to actually reach the back line without, unless you actually get the good Nocturne ult there. It's I'm just trying to think Kog'Maw and Urgot might actually be priority damage for Absolute Legends, but Nocturne swooping on him from the river gets the fear off, but not going to be able to do a whole lot. Wicked's still relatively safe, even though half health.
Yeah, but some nice damage, though. So, even though Wicked is safe with his CC, with the, stun,
right,
he is going to get back. Taking him down to half health puts him in that kill range. And so we see Snoopy coming up here because he knows that once Young Buck pushes underneath the tower, it's very likely that Renekton's going to want to dive, tank the turret, throw on his ultimate. We have the Nocturne ult come in. Very quickly, they could burst him down with that Ignite. And so Snoopy needs to be there in order to protect him, because there is a lot of killing potential against Jax right now, even at this low level. But they're actually just going to engage. Nice. Jax jumping onto Young Buck, but going down really quickly. He did get the dodge, but unfortunately he does go down. Snoopy is here as well. He is very low. He will have to back off, and so that's going to be a turret for Absolute Legends if they decide to take it. They are just backing off, though.
In the meantime, though, the engage going down on the Corki. Acid Hunter has gone down. One more shot. Oh, the heal actually coming on out from Corki to save his butt. The Tarek is still a little bit behind. The ult will be enough, and yes, we will connect. Tarek does go down, and Corki still relatively low. Pretty dangerous, but Morgana is now moving on over through the Tribush. A bind and a pool should be able to do this.
She's going to flash for the ult.
She's flash ult. Crepo does get down, but stun, keeping Morgana under tower for just a little while longer. So if she's going down, Morgana going to go down with her.
Awesome exchange by Crepo. We've seen 2 times so far in this game. Just really nice play by Crepo. Earlier when they ganked, when we saw the first blood top, Crepo, it looked like he was going to go down. You don't have that mobility in Leona, and that's always the concern. But he was absolutely fine. He was able to get out of there. He threw off the stun, threw off the heal. Morgana really close to picking up a double kill. Extinct wanted the kills. He was hungry for him. He was just, desirous of their blood. And Crepo, with the really nice play, they split off in 2 opposite directions, forcing the binds to break, and then stunning underneath the tower. And again, we see Jax with the strength up top. Oh, Froggen really close to picking up the kill. We have the shield going off. They are going to dive it. One more hit. The dodge from Malinu.
Oh, Malinu getting way too close for comfort there. But the mid-tier 1 will fall. Froggen almost had that, but it's okay. A little bit extra gold in the pocket. And you notice Giant Spelt and Blasting Rod could be going for the Rylai's pretty soon. Actually, may just have enough gold to buy it outright the next back. Young Buck still trying to get some damage here on the Wicked. Knows that Wicked is not completely invincible with a little help from Nocturne. A little bit could take him down once again, but still that last engagement from Wicked top lane, I think they're looking for a bait, but Jax was just a little bit too low and got to burst a little bit too quickly there. But hey, blue is up. Morgana, come on over and get it. It's yours.
Yeah, and so you see Wicked, he has the Ninja Tabby. There was a lot of CC, so he could maybe go Merc Treads, but the Ninja Tabby, because it's such a physical damage team, and because he's dealing with Renekton top, who has a Brutalizer, which is a really common build on Renekton, he needs to mitigate that damage. He needs to be able to just farm safely and not have to worry about losing his lane. And so we see the aggression from Wicked, very easily able to control that there. He is building towards a Phage, so we might see that common Triforce build just after the little bit of regen that he gets with the lifesteal from the Cutlass. Doesn't want to build it into a full Gunblade. We'll finish it later, but I don't know, we haven't really seen a whole lot of Nocturne in a while, other than that kill top, but that was kind of initiated by CLG, which is kind of a funny situation. And so we'll see whether or not we can get any ganks. Mostly it's been just safe play from CLG though.
Oh yeah, well, Wicked knew Snoopy was nearby. Like, oh, let's bait him into the tower. They're gonna try and dive it and possibly get the kill, but Wicked just got a little bit too low, and here comes the Nocturne ult right in the Crepa, and the ult from Leona on the defense. Yellow Pete is still pretty tanky though. Summoner Heal going off, but Wicked and Snoopy are not too far away. Yellow Pete, will you be able to get away? Quite possibly, and there goes the swap to keep Zinnik in his place. Snoopy out in front, just dealing with Corki, and CLG should be able to get out of this one okay.
So the big thing was you saw how long it took them to take down Yellow Pete. Yellow Pete with the swap in the end was taken down by the Phosphorus Bomb. Probably didn't need to swap there, but he wanted to secure the kill and didn't think that Corki would be able to burst him. But you saw, even against the physical damage, with that Frozen Heart and that Brutalizer, he's dealing a lot of damage, and it was very difficult for them to take him down. So he was able to sit around for a long time. We do have Jax tanking this here, and so he will take the Dragon fairly easily, while Froggen just bombarding Extinct, getting him extremely low, preventing the Morgana engage. And so being able to prevent that is just huge. We do have the slow, so they will chase them out after that Dragon. Actually, the flash from Snoopy trying to get an engage there.
Yep, and granted, it was a 1-for-1 down bot, but the key there, two members of Absolute Legends were way too low. Corki and Nocturne were too low health after the fight to really challenge the Dragon. That was a real key there, and CLG is just around. They're just around. They're there, able to swoop on, grab it, and just the harass from Kog'Maw, keeping Morgana and Renekton at bay. It's like, hey, if we get hit, we're slowed, we're screwed, and secured Dragon for CLG.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I actually just realized it seemed like, Jax has been just, doing so well in this game. He got off to a good start versus Renekton. It denied some of that aggression, but Renekton actually 40 CS ahead of Jax, and a lot of that comes from just how strong Renekton is early in the game. Jax forced to play defensively because of some of those kills. We saw him out of lane some. And so Renekton, with the quick farming, is doing very well and will be very strong in the coming team fights. Coming down there, they weren't really able to get the engage that they wanted to, and a lot of that had to do with the AP call. Able to force Morgana back because we don't have Azonia's. We do have Azonia's now. Because Morgana was low, she was scared to engage, didn't want to be bursted down almost immediately. And so, we'll see whether we get a hard engage again. As long as they can keep Slepper alive, we have the frontline tanks to do it, we have the CC to do it, then Slepper is going to be dealing a whole lot of damage in these next fights.
Also notice that there is a Kage's pick onto Morgana, and very recently, a lot of AP mids have been starting to take up the DFG again. And Morgana's going to be right up there in the middle of these fights anyway. Flash, ult, might as well pop the DFG, get a little bit extra damage, and then Zhonya's 2 safety just for a time, and for the rest of the team to come on in and try and finish the job. But during Champ Select, we were talking. This is going to be a very close quarters engagement. So a lot of these teams need to get very close and personal to deal maximum amounts of damage. So it makes sense. It really makes sense.
Yeah, definitely true. I mean, especially if you want to burst down someone like Jax. Right now, we see Melanu has the Oracles, so wanting to get map control back, they know that they want to be aggressive. They have, good initiation opportunities, so getting that ward control is huge. But Wicked, actually sitting down in this bottom lane, thinks that maybe we might see some aggression, and that's what it looks like. So he's going to be ready to engage if we see, anyone from Absolute Legends come in. they can, all of a sudden be like, what is going on? We have, well, actually, the swap from Yellow Pete trying to set it up for his team. We have the stun from Leona as well, the follow-up, and Crepo very quickly bursting down Slepper. He has to get out of there. The flash in from Extinct, though. Yellow Pete goes down. Jax, Wicked looking pretty good, but the stun goes off, and so a 1-0 exchange for Absolute Legends, actually. And, yeah, one team fight.
Yellow Pete, I think, that was a little bit of a preemptive swap. Wasn't really going to get a whole lot of an advantage position from that. It was just really to keep Slepper still. But Valkyrie immediately away following the swap kind of made it a little bit of a waste. We would have expected, it would have wanted to see a swap on someone like Tarek, or Nocturne was coming down as well.
I mean, they did force Slepper out of the fight, and the big thing is they know in these team fights, as long as Urgot hadn't died, it would have been a pretty even exchange. He did have his flash up still. The big thing is that swap allowed them to take down Slepper so quickly he almost died, and then without him, they would be at an advantageous position in those team fights because they really rely on Corki's damage. And so we do see that top tower goes down. Everyone's just going to kind of back off, protecting this mid tower, not allowing Absolute Legends to get an advantage from that fight.
So notice Wicked finished the phage and got the chain vest. Trying to think that could eventually go into a Guardian Angel way further down the line, but there's possibilities. Build the chain vest into something, finish the Cutlass, go for the Gunblade. You got the phage already. Keep on going for a Trinity Force. There's options. There's lots of options for Jax right now. I want to say go for more burst, go for Trinity Force, but we'll see how the rest of the game goes.
Yeah, and so, I mean, he is going to be pretty tanky. That's his primary goal right now, though. They have plenty of damage as long as they can keep Jax and Kog'Maw alive, and so I think they're pretty safe as far as that's concerned. Absolute Legends wants to be really aggressive right now. They have a really strong team fight team right now with the Morgana and with the follow-up damage from Corki and, the front line of Renekton. We actually have the bind, the dodge from Wicked. If he gets caught there, he's going down, and very quickly that would be a one fight for Absolute Legends. But Kog'Maw just destroying Slepper here. Gets the nice engage. The bind on Yellow Pete will get them out of there, so they do want to get out of there. In the meantime, we still have Froggen just chasing them down.
See, this is the advantage of Cog. This is the point where Cog starts to get ridiculous. Actually, 17 over Morgana's 15. That's that just speaks to how much farm and how integral we've been in all these fights. Cog 263 in terms of creeps. Morgana 210, but the Royal Eyes and all damage from the Archangel staff as well allows him to just sit in the back lane. Oh, he's got blue buff as well, so that's going to be plenty of mana to continually harass down Absolute Legends. And even early on in the game, just one of those shots was able to completely blow away Morgana's Black Shield. So kind of makes it a little bit ineffective, but all of this pressure allows the setup for the rest of CLG to pressure objectives like this tower.
Yeah, and so if they can wear them down before a fight, very quickly Absolute Legends wouldn't be able to engage. A couple of them are low, but Young Buck actually popping the ultimate, flashing in, will get back out of there. Absolute Legends Extinct, trying to get in. He does have his ultimate still. Tarek going down. All of CLG wants to disengage. Unfortunately, we have the stun for Morgana. There goes Leona. We have the stun to Snoop as well. Wicked did go down, and now Froggen trying to chase down Extinct. One more hit will get it. Just barely not able to pick up that kill. Corki being chased out of there. We have the Urgot slow, actually, and so they pick up the kill onto Corki. They are able to get down Slepper. Oh, I thought he was maybe going for Morgana. I thought Froggen might pick that up. But now it was an pretty even fight exchange, but CLG actually coming out ahead. They will be able to take down this turret as well, and so a nice little goal advantage for them.
Yep, that was mentioned it before. Just there it is. That's the power of Kog'Maw. So Young Buck engaging onto that fight was already nearly at half health. Had to pop the ult in order to engage just to keep the sustain up. But, yep, the pressure was a little bit too much, and CLG grabs the tier 2 in mid. So now the question is, what does Absolute Legends need to do in order to stop the Kog'Maw? Nocturne is fantastic at zooming straight in for the back line, but that's the thing. Is there a sufficient follow-up from Absolute Legends? Nocturne ult and Flash Morgana ult and could get there.
That's what's so nice about CLG's team is the fact that Kog'Maw is so strong, but they still need to be focusing down Jax. And you saw in that fight, they had the CC. They were able to, quickly, it seemed like, win the fight. But because Kog'Maw was able to stay safely in the back, they could, win the long fight. They need to burst down Jax, though. If they don't burst down Jax, then Wicked is just going to, be completely reckless and just run around and go crazy all over them. But, yeah, so we'll have to see.
The Kog'Maw pressure is a bit too much. Absolute Legends wanted to grab the Dragon, but Slepper almost managing to get out barely. And still, Extinct, the shield can only do so much, still getting chunked out as well. And see now, yeah. If Absolute Legends wanted to make a difference in this game, it had to be before Kog'Maw gets this ridiculous. Just nearly 18. Should be the first 18 in the game. Yeah, things do not look good for Absolute Legends right now. Plus, all this focus down on Jax. You know what? Let's buy a Guardian Angel. Extra life. Even if Jax does get focused down first, he's going to be coming back. That's a huge problem for Absolute Legends to deal with.
Yeah, and all of CLG's team is just going to be so tanky, except for that Kog'Maw in the back line. But Kog'Maw can just sit so far back that the only one who's going to really be able to engage on him is Nocturne. Renekton could maybe get back there. Morgana, if she gets a nice engage like from the side or something, or catches Froggen out of position, then that's really their best opportunity. They do have a really strong team right now, and they want to get a fight going. Unfortunately, Kog'Maw can just slowly wear them down. They have a decent kiting potential. If Absolute Legends tries to engage, all these frontline tanks just kind of run at them, and they're like, hey, we've got a unstoppable wall here. You can't engage. We actually see Young Buck missing the dash, and so with a swap from Yellow Pete, we will have some nice damage from Froggen. He does want to back off, though. He doesn't want to be quite so close to Renekton, but with the stun from Leona, they pick him off really quickly. Wicked chasing after Malinu. We have the ult from Froggen, though. One more hit, and actually Wicked very close to picking it up. There's actually the cleave from Snoopé, so they are able to pick up that fight.
And with that, CLG should be able to take Baron pretty convincingly, and just big misstep there from Young Buck. Could not get over the walls, was just a little bit too far out, and with that, you got caught. Swap from Urgot, and that really just spelled all sorts of doom for Absolute Legends. Wards going down, 3 members of AL up. There's not a whole lot that can be done about this Baron, and if I were them, I would look to just get away from there, because Tarek walking into the team means very bad things. And Morgana with the Zonias, but she's surrounded, not going to be getting out of there at all. Corki does manage to get the Leona kill, but may not get out alive. Froggen is still there in chase. Can you get one more hit? The Slepper still looking to try and farm, just flat out creep farm, but will not be able to win the 1v1. Froggen gets the kill, and the Baron for CLG.
Yeah, and now with that Baron having the regen advantage with the poke team that they have and the tanky team, so it's the nice combination of the two there. It makes it extremely difficult for Absolute Legends to engage, and we still have a lot of damage from Absolute Legends. The only issue is when you have tanky champions like Urgot and Mundo and Jax.
Yep.
They have the HP, but they also have the armor, and so HP counters out some of the bursts that they have with Morgana and with Corki, but then the armor also counters out the sustained damage that we have from a pretty physical heavy team. And without an Abyssal Scepter from Morgana, they don't have kind of enough magic damage to take them down. And the physical damage, with the armor, the Frozen Heart is such a strong counter, the Randuins is such a strong counter. It's just really difficult for them to get the damage out that they need to.
And you also notice Morgana opted to not continue building onto DFG and instead get a needlessly large rod, recognizing, hey, if there's going to be damage to be done, if there's going to be kills to be made, you need to maximize damage on, just as much as possible, and also a little bit extra damage on the ult. I don't know, I think DFG could have made a little bit of a difference to try and get Chunk out, but that only works on one champ. A little bit extra damage on the pool and the Morgana ult, but it's still very minimal, and still doesn't really stop the Kog'Maw.
And so we do see them wearing down in this mid lane, and this is where poke is at its best. When you have the team, they have to kind of clump up here, so we will see the long range poke from Froggen to just kind of try and wear them down. The bind actually on Froggen and the engage from Nocturne.
They're going in on this. Froggen being focused down immediately. Extinct is going very far deep, but the swap keeps everyone away, and now Kog'Maw is in the safety of the forest as everyone from Absolute Legends is slowly falling down one by one. Extinct trying to retreat the long way, but that was it. Everyone focuses in on the Kog'Maw. Everyone pays. Straight out ace, 5 for free, and there is a surrender. GG, game 1 going to CLG.EU.
Yeah, and their team just looked absolutely devastating. I mean, CLG, Absolute Legends trying to be aggressive, had a really strong team comp. Unfortunately, CLG, they were in control almost the entire game. They had a really strong understanding of what they wanted to accomplish, and really nice defensive play early on. Snoopé negating Nocturne a lot of the times in that top lane, wouldn't allow those aggressive ganks. CLG, not falling for that early aggression, and then as the game progressed, Jax was just really strong. Froggen with the poke was just destroying Absolute Legends. Really cool play all around.
But for a time, though, Jax was actually quite behind Renekton, and pretty good job. Top lane, done by Absolute Legends. But mid lane, Morgana roamed around a little bit too much. Didn't quite get everything she wanted, which just allows hey, Kog'Maw in mid, free farming, getting all the items needed. The Rylai's being picked up for the first major item, and that just allowed the huge snowball to just roll on in, because once that Kog'Maw gets the damage and the slow and the ability to just poke at such a long range for so much damage, it's pretty hard to come back. And you saw that last fight. That's what the Nocturne pick is there for, to pick out champions on the back line. Morgana was out there, but there's all the damage mitigation it needed because CLG was just so dang tanky.
Yeah, no, and they couldn't even take down Froggen at that point.
We saw
the bind from Morgana being able to connect with Froggen. That was really their best opportunity for engage almost the entire game. If you can take down the Cog really quickly, then maybe transition your focus onto Jax. Unfortunately, by that point, even Cog was too safe for them. And so Cog, he had the cleanse. He was able to get out of there. We had, Crepo coming in for the support. And then, with all the damage that they had, all the tanks, it was just too much for them. It was oppressive.
So I guess going into game 2, I think a Kog'Maw ban is going to be a pretty safe bet. The Jax wasn't too much of a worry, and Renekton worked out very well, but Kog'Maw ban I'm expecting.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. They have 3 champions on their team that I would consider banning: Kog'Maw, Urgot, and Jax. And so all 3 of those champions, you saw Renekton did a very nice job top. And so we could see, the Jax let through, go with something like Renekton again, or another matchup. He just did such a fantastic job up there, was able to control the lane pretty well. But the big thing is that Jax, as a champion, he's pretty safe early on, so Absolute Legends can't get the aggression that they want top because of how safe he is. And then also, as the game progresses, if you have Jax and any other strong carry in the game, you've got to split your attention. You're like, well, dang, who am I supposed to go after? It gives you that kind of not winnable solution. And so Urgot, with the early aggression, he's so tanky. Urgot works so well when you have a strong mid and a top for that follow-up damage. He was strong in the bottom lane. In the team fights, they couldn't take him down, so they had him to deal with. They have the Cog. I mean, all 3 of those picks were just A1. I think the fact that you can't ban them all out really means that Absolute Legends needs to kind of try and figure out something a little bit different, see what they're going to run. I think you're right. We'll probably see Jax not banned, Kog'Maw probably banned. I think an Urgot ban would be smart as well, but maybe they'll decide to stick with it.
Yeah, and even then, when you're presented with a situation like that, if you're on the offensive, if you're forcing the enemy team to make a really tough decision on which target to focus, one of the best items you can buy, Guardian Angel. So it's like, well, it doesn't. At that point, it just it's like it doesn't matter.
Right.
Even if we kill him, we're not going to be able to do anything about it anyway. But what Absolute Legends could always do, they could ban out Urgot, they could ban out Jax, they could ban out Kog'Maw. Just let CLG have the Anivia.
Let them have Anivia and Aurelia and all these strong champions. I think we're probably going to not have the Shen ban. I think we probably won't have the Aurelia ban either. And so it's tough. I mean, Jax and Urgot, even without the Kog'Maw pick, is just such a strong matchup. And so we've seen teams like Fornot running that. We've seen Dynamic running it actually very effectively, having the Jax in the top lane, Urgot bottom. You have someone else tanky like Ryze who has sustained magic damage, and all of a sudden you have this really tanky core fight team that's almost impossible to take down and has a lot of follow-up damage. So it makes things really difficult. I think that we're probably going to need to see 2 of those 3 banned.
Well, we're going to find out in just a little bit. We're going to go to a quick commercial, going to get the game ready, and when we come back, Game 2, Absolute Legends EU and CLG.EU. CLG's up 1. If they win this next one, they're going to IPL5, and we're going to find out if they can do it right after this, so do please stay tuned.